The strange question. The Grand Council Hall was full of voices. Alien leaders from dozens of worlds had gathered, each sitting in their bright robes and strange uniforms. Glowing lamps lit the giant room, and the sound of translators hummed softly in the air. Everyone was ready to discuss serious matters, things like trade, peace treaties, and exploration. Among them sat a group of humans, small in number compared to the tall insectoids, the scaled reptilians, and the shining robotic minds. The humans tried to look calm, but they knew these meetings always turned strange when someone asked about Earth. To the humans, their culture and life were normal, but to aliens, it was always something shocking. The head speaker, an old alien with eyes like golden mirrors, tapped the floor with his staff. "Council begins," he said in a deep voice, and the translators repeated it in every tongue. For the first hour, everything went as expected. Trade routes, mining rights, patrol ships near the borders, boring but important things. Then, without warning, a hand lifted high. It was the ambassador from the xeric species, tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver. He rose slowly, his long fingers twitching with curiosity. "I have a question," he said, and his voice echoed across the chamber. Everyone grew silent. Even the buzzing of the insectoid diplomats stopped. The xeric ambassador turned his head toward the humans, his glowing eyes unblinking. "Humans," he asked with all seriousness, "how do your species reproduce?" For a moment, no one moved. The human diplomats blinked in shock, their faces turning red. The question was simple, yet dangerous. It was the kind of question that could not be answered without embarrassment. The council hall filled with whispers. Dozens of alien tongues spoke at once, confused, curious, some even laughing in their own strange way. To them, reproduction was either mechanical, chemical, or simple splitting of cells. But humans were different, and everyone wanted to know how. The chief human diplomat, a man named Arthur Hayes, cleared his throat. He stood slowly, trying to buy time. "Ambassador," he said, choosing his words carefully, "why do you ask such a question?" The xeric raised his long hand and replied, "Because our scholars are confused," he said. "Some records say humans carry live young inside their bodies. Others claim humans use eggs like avians, and some reports suggest technology is required." He tilted his head, silver skin catching the light. "We need clarity, for the galaxy must understand the human way." Arthur Hayes swallowed hard. The humans beside him shifted uncomfortably. One whispered, "He can't be serious." Another muttered, "Why now?" in front of everyone. But there was no escape. The council chamber was watching. All eyes, big and small, shining and dull, were waiting for the truth. A reptilian general hissed with laughter, his scaled mouth wide. "So the humans have secrets after all," he said. "We shall see how strong their kind truly is." An insectoid queen clicked her mandibles, amused. "Our broods hatch from millions of eggs at once," she said proudly. "Surely humans cannot be so strange." Arthur Hayes raised a hand to calm the noise. But inside, his heart was racing. How could he explain something so private, so personal, in front of dozens of alien races? How could he describe love, family, and reproduction in simple words that would not cause chaos? One of the younger human diplomats leaned close and whispered, "Maybe we should lie. Tell them we use machines. Keep it simple." Arthur shook his head. "No," he whispered back. "They will find out, and then we will look weak." The hall grew louder. Robotic delegates demanded data. Reptilians hissed, insectoids buzzed, and aquatic beings burbled with excitement. The question had become more than curiosity. It was now a test of humanity's honesty, a moment of truth. Arthur Hayes looked at the xeric ambassador and forced a smile. "You ask a very strange question," he said, his voice steady but uneasy. "But perhaps," he continued, "the truth will shock you more than you expect." The council leaned forward. Every alien waited. The air grew heavy, thick with suspense. Would the humans dare explain, or would they hide behind silence? Arthur took a deep breath. He felt every eye on him, The laughter, the whispers, the curiosity, all focused on his next words. And he realized, with dread and humor mixed together, this meeting was no longer about trade or peace. It was now about the most awkward question in the galaxy. Humans' awkward start. The chamber was still quiet, every alien waiting for the human's answer. Arthur Hayes stood frozen, his face calm on the outside, but his thoughts running wild inside. He knew the council would not let go. The Xeric ambassador's question had planted a fire in the room. Every alien was curious, and curiosity was more dangerous than war. Arthur opened his mouth, ready to give a proper explanation, but the words got stuck. How could he explain human mating without turning the council into chaos? He glanced at his fellow humans, looking for support, but all he saw were pale faces and nervous eyes. Finally, one of the junior diplomats, a man named Daniel, stepped forward. Daniel was young, too young for this kind of question, but he had confidence. He smiled awkwardly and said, "It is simple. We require 2 partners, 1 male and 1 female." The council reacted immediately. Gasps and whispers filled the air. A robotic delegate tilted its metal head and said in a buzzing voice, "2 units required for creation. Why inefficiency?" An insectoid queen leaned forward, her antenna twitching with interest. "Partners, you say?" She clicked. "Do they fight to prove who is stronger, as our drones do?" Daniel's face turned red. "No, no fighting," he said quickly. "Humans choose, usually by feelings." The reptilian general slammed his tail on the floor, hissing with laughter. "Feelings," he roared. "You base survival on emotion. Ridiculous." Arthur closed his eyes, wishing he had stopped Daniel. But it was too late. The chamber was alive with voices. Aliens were repeating the words to their translators, struggling to understand this new concept. A bird-like alien muttered, "So humans must sing and dance to win a partner. Fascinating." Arthur whispered to himself, "Well, sometimes," but he dared not say it louder. Daniel tried to continue, his hands shaking. After choosing a partner, he said, "The 2 humans come together," and then he paused, realizing the next part would sound strange. The council leaned forward, dozens of eyes glowing in the dim light. "Then what?" hissed the reptilian general, his fangs flashing. "Do they exchange fluids, electricity, spores, or light?" asked a glowing crystalline alien. Daniel panicked, sweat forming on his forehead. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Arthur stepped in, placing a hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Enough," Arthur said. "Perhaps the details are not for public display." But the council was not satisfied. The insectoid queen slammed her claw on the table, sparks flying. "You cannot stop now, human," she demanded. "Our scholars must know the full truth." The robotic delegate added coldly, "Without full data, humans remain an unpredictable species." Arthur felt trapped. If he stayed silent, humans would look weak, hiding something. If he spoke the full truth, he risked the council laughing at humanity or finding them disgusting. His mind raced, searching for a way out. Then, to everyone's surprise, another human spoke. It was Dr. Elena Rivera, a scientist and biologist who had stayed quiet until now. Her voice was calm but strong. "Perhaps you are asking the wrong way," she said. "You want to know how humans reproduce, but first you must understand why humans choose this way." The council grew silent again. Aliens turned their heads toward her, curious. The Xeric ambassador tilted his shimmering face. "Then tell us, human scientist," he said, "why do your kind use such strange methods?" Dr. Rivera stepped forward. Her dark eyes were steady, and she showed no sign of fear. "Because," she said, "for humans, reproduction is not only survival. It is connection, it is trust, it is the bond that builds families." Her words floated through the chamber like fire. Some aliens laughed, others muttered, and some simply stared. But all of them listened. Arthur looked at her with relief. She was brave, braver than all of them. Her explanation was not detailed, but it opened a new path. It made the council see humans as more than just biology. It made them wonder what kind of species would tie survival to something as soft, as dangerous, as fragile as emotion. The reptilian general slammed his tail again, but this time he did not laugh. His yellow eyes narrowed. So humans risk extinction if they fail to connect, he said slowly. A dangerous gamble. The robotic delegate word, processing, inefficient, it said, but perhaps effective in ways unknown. The council chamber buzzed with half belief and half skepticism. But one thing was clear: the humans had given an answer, and that answer was stranger than anyone had expected. Arthur sighed. The real explanation was only beginning. And already, the chamber was filled with shock, confusion, and laughter. The Zurich ambassador raised his silver hand again and said, "Then let us continue. Humans, show us the rest." And with that, the humans realized the hardest part was still ahead: alien theories. The council chamber buzzed like a storm. Dr. Rivera's words had planted curiosity instead of silence. Now, every alien wanted to explain their own theory. If humans would not reveal the full secret, the council would guess it themselves. The first to speak was the insectoid queen, her mandibles clicking loudly. "In my species," she declared, "the queen lays thousands of eggs, and drones fertilize them with chemical spores." She raised her thin claw toward the humans, her antenna twitching. Surely humans must follow the same path. The female lays eggs, and the males compete for the right to guard them. The chamber filled with murmurs. A few insectoid diplomats nodded in agreement, confident that this was the truth. Arthur Hayes shook his head slowly. "No eggs," he said firmly. "Humans do not lay eggs." Gasps erupted. Even the robotic delegates produced a metallic hiss of shock. "No eggs," the insectoid queen repeated, almost offended. "Then how do you protect your young?" Before Arthur could respond, a reptilian general stood, his thick tail slamming against the floor. "Humans must be like us," he hissed. "We battle for dominance. The strongest male wins the right to mate. The female chooses only the champion. This ensures strong offspring." He bared his teeth in a grin, his scales gleaming under the council lights. "Tell me, humans, do your males fight to the death for females?" Arthur felt his head ache. "No," he said quickly. "Humans do not fight to the death for partners." The reptilian narrowed his eyes. "Not to the death," he said slowly, "but you fight. Yes, you must challenge rivals to prove strength." Arthur hesitated, then muttered, "Sometimes in bars." The chamber exploded with laughter. Aliens of all kinds hissed, clicked, and roared in amusement. To them, the idea of drunken humans fighting for love was both insane and hilarious. Then, a voice rang out from the robotic delegates, cold and sharp. "Your methods are wasteful. Organic reproduction is unreliable," said the lead machine. "Surely you construct offspring in artificial units, perhaps in mechanical wombs or incubation tanks." Its glowing eyes scanned the humans like lasers. "Your emotional explanation was a distraction. We require the truth of your technology." Dr. Rivera raised an eyebrow. "No machines," she said firmly. "Humans do not build our children." The robots buzzed in protest. "Impossible," one said. "Inefficient, messy, dangerous." "Yet true," Arthur added. "We are born, not built." A crystal-bodied alien chimed in next, its voice like bells. "In my world, new life is created by resonance. Two crystals vibrate in harmony, and a third crystal forms from their energy. Its glowing body pulsed gently. Surely humans must use sound. You sing to each other, then a child appears, yes." The humans exchanged awkward glances. Arthur muttered, "We do sing, but that does not make children." The crystalline alien tilted its head, confused. "But you said emotion is key. Is singing not emotion?" Daniel whispered under his breath. "Try explaining karaoke night," but Arthur gave him a warning look. Now chaos truly began. One aquatic alien rose, his skin shimmering like liquid. "My people release clouds of life seed into the waters, and females swim through, collecting what they wish." He gurgled loudly, pointing at the humans. You must do the same. Yes, spray your life into the air and let females choose. Arthur nearly choked. No, he said firmly, absolutely not. The aquatic delegates splashed in confusion. Then how? One demanded, how can you survive without spreading seed in water? The theories became wilder. A gas-based alien floated forward, its voice a soft hiss. My kind split into two beings when enough energy is stored. Surely humans divide as well. One body becomes two. Arthur shook his head again. No splitting, he said. The gas creature rippled in shock. Then you are trapped in one body forever. The council roared with debate. Each alien argued their version, each sure that humans must be like them. Egg layers, fighters, machines, singers, splitters, swimmers. Every possibility was shouted across the chamber. The humans stood in the middle of it all, their faces burning red, unable to stop the storm. Finally, the Xeric ambassador raised his silver hand. The chamber slowly fell silent. He stared at the humans with glowing eyes and spoke in a calm, steady voice. If none of these are true, then your kind is stranger than we feared, he said. Humans reproduce not by egg, nor by machine, nor by water, nor by division. He leaned forward, his shimmering skin glowing in the council lights. Then tell us, humans, what is your secret? What happens when two of you come together? The hall grew still. The aliens leaned in. The humans felt their throats tighten. The awkward moment they feared most was about to begin. The brave explanation. The silence in the council chamber was heavy. Dozens of alien eyes glowed in the dim light, waiting. The air vibrated with tension. Translators hummed softly, and even the insectoid queen stopped clicking her mandibles. All were fixed on the humans, demanding the answer. Arthur Hayes wiped his forehead. He knew there was no escape left, no more delays. The Xeric ambassador had spoken clearly, and now the truth must be told. If humans stayed silent, they would be seen as liars or cowards. If they spoke, they risked ridicule across the galaxy. Dar, Elena Rivera stepped forward, her calm voice breaking the silence. Enough games, she said, her tone steady. If the galaxy wants to know, then the galaxy will know. Her words carried through the chamber like thunder. Aliens shifted in their seats. Antennas twitched, crystals glowed, and tails thumped against the floor. Arthur whispered, Elena, are you sure? She nodded firmly, her eyes unwavering. It is time they learn the truth, she replied. She faced the council, taking a deep breath. Humans reproduce through intimacy, she began, choosing simple words. The robotic delegates tilted their metal heads, confused. Define intimacy, they demanded, their voices cold. Dr. Rivera continued. Two humans, a male and a female, joined together physically, she said. They share closeness, not just of body, but of emotion. They create new life through this union. The chamber erupted instantly. A reptilian general slammed his claw on the table, roaring with laughter. You mean to tell us your kind must touch each other? He hissed, his scales shaking with amusement. In battle we touch only to kill, yet you touch to create. The insectoid queen shrieked in disbelief, her mandibles clattering. Disgusting, crawling against one another like vermin, she spat. And you call this survival? The aquatic delegates gurgled so loudly the water around their seats rippled. You join flesh to flesh, one asked in shock. How do you avoid drowning in each other? The robotic delegates buzzed in confusion, their voices sharp. Inefficient, messy, unhygienic, they declared. Your method is flawed. A crystal-bodied alien shook its glowing head. So emotion is not only a choice, but a requirement. It said, a vibration of hearts, not just sound. Dr. Rivera held her ground. Yes, she said firmly, emotion is part of it. Humans do not simply join for survival. They join because they care, because they trust. Her voice softened as she added, it is love that often begins the process, not calculation. The room fell into chaos. Aliens shouted, argued, laughed, hissed, and gurgled. Some looked horrified, others fascinated, and a few even curious. The insectoid queen demanded to know why humans would waste energy on such unnecessary rituals. The reptilian general claimed this made humans the strangest warriors alive, and the robots dismissed it as primitive nonsense. Arthur raised his hand, tried to calm the storm. "Enough," he shouted, his voice carrying across the chamber. The noise faded, and all eyes turned back to him. He spoke slowly, carefully. "You may laugh, you may doubt, but this is our way. This is how humanity has survived. We trust each other, we connect, and from that connection, new generations are born." The Xeric ambassador leaned forward, his silver skin shimmering like liquid. His glowing eyes were unreadable. "So," he said softly, "your kind must risk vulnerability. You must lower your defenses to create life." Dar Rivera nodded. "Yes, and in that risk, we build bonds that last." The chamber fell quiet again. No one laughed now, no one whispered. Even the reptilian general folded his arms and sat in thought. The insectoid queen tilted her head, disturbed but intrigued, and the robots whirred softly, processing what they had heard. For the first time, the aliens began to see the humans not as weak, not as strange, but as something else. They saw a species willing to mix survival with feeling, strength with tenderness, risk with trust. It was alien to them, but perhaps that was why humans were feared. Perhaps that was why humans survived in places no one else dared. Then, from the back of the chamber, a voice called out. It was a small alien with 4 eyes and a squeaky tone. "So," it asked, "when humans reproduce, do you enjoy it?" The question struck the room like lightning. Arthur groaned and put his hand over his face. Dr. Rivera sighed deeply, and the chamber once again erupted into chaos. Laughter, shock, and wild guesses filled the air. The humans stood in the middle, trapped between shame and pride. The brave explanation had been given, but the storm it unleashed was only just beginning. Alien reactions. The chamber was no longer silent. It was a storm of voices. Dozens of aliens shouted over each other, their translators struggling to keep up. Some laughed until their bodies shook, others hissed with disgust, and a few leaned forward with dangerous interest. The humans stood at the center of it all, red-faced and trapped. The reptilian general was the loudest, his heavy tail slamming the floor with every laugh. "So humans must touch to survive," he roared, his sharp teeth flashing. Pathetic and brilliant at the same time, you risk death for closeness, and yet you thrive. Amazing. His soldiers hissed in agreement, their golden eyes gleaming. To them, the idea was foolish, but also proof of strange courage. The insectoid queen rose next, her antenna whipping angrily. "Insects lay millions of eggs without wasting energy on foolish rituals," she snapped. "Yet humans waste time singing, touching, trusting, ridiculous." She clacked her claws together. "You build weakness into your very survival, and still you endure. How?" Arthur Hayes gave a tired smile. "Because weakness and strength are not separate for us," he said. "They live together." The queen recoiled as if burned. Her drones buzzed in horror, unable to imagine such a concept. Across the hall, the crystalline alien pulsed with bright light. "In my species," it sang, "new life forms from pure resonance. 2 voices create a 3rd crystal. No touch, no risk, only harmony." It tilted its glowing head at the humans. "You risk pain for creation, yet perhaps your way creates music we cannot hear." Its words hung in the air, both mocking and admiring at once. The aquatic delegates began gurgling in disbelief, their watery bodies shaking. "You breathe air while joined together," one demanded. "Do you not suffocate each other? Do you not drown in your own closeness?" Another added, "What madness is this to press flesh instead of releasing seeds freely?" They splashed so hard that droplets sprayed into the rows nearby, causing complaints from the reptilians. Then came the robots, their metallic voices buzzing like a swarm. Illogical, one declared. Inefficient, said another. Biological fluids are unstable, infection risk is high, and emotional bonding is unnecessary. But after a pause, the lead machine added softly, "Yet, this bond may explain why humans are unpredictable, why they fight harder than logic allows." For the first time, the robots fell into quiet calculation, their glowing eyes flickering. Dr. Rivera folded her arms, her voice calm. "You all laugh, you all doubt, but you cannot deny one thing," she said. "Humanity survives where others fail. We adapt, we endure, because our bond is not only for survival, it is for meaning." The council stirred, uneasy. Some aliens looked away, unwilling to accept such strange reasoning. Others stared harder, curious. And a few, just a few, nodded as if they began to understand. Then, suddenly, the four-eyed alien from the back stood up again. It squeaked in its high voice, "Wait, wait, you mean you also kiss?" Arthur froze. Dr. Rivera rubbed her forehead. The alien squeaked louder, mouth collision ritual. "Yes, yes, explain." The entire chamber erupted again. The reptilians hissed in horror. "You share breath willingly." The insectoids clattered their mandibles. "You put feeding parts together, disgusting." The aquatic beings bubbled so violently the water shook. "You risk mixing air and water, impossible." The robots buzzed in shock. "Direct transfer of microbes, error, error." Arthur Hayes raised his hands desperately. "Yes, we kiss," he admitted. "And no, we do not die from it." The reptilian general nearly fell from his chair, laughing so hard his scales rattled. "You humans are insane," he cried. "You risk disease for affection. No wonder you conquer everything, even your own weakness." The insectoid queen hissed loudly. "This proves it," she declared. "Humans are not weak. They are dangerous. They risk death to create life. They risk infection for closeness. They risk pain for love." Her voice echoed like a warning. Never underestimate them. The council chamber quieted again. For the first time, the laughter faded, replaced by uneasy respect. Aliens who had mocked now stared with cautious eyes. What kind of species would tie survival to such madness? What kind of beings would build families on risk and emotion? Arthur Hayes stood straighter. He could see the change. The humans were no longer seen as weak or foolish. They were strange, yes, but also strong in a way no one else understood. Then, just as silence began to settle, the four-eyed alien squeaked again. "So, if kissing is true," it asked innocently, "what happens after that?" Arthur nearly collapsed. The reptilian general howled with laughter. And once again, the chamber exploded into chaos. The human stood in the middle, caught between shame, pride, and the absurdity of being human. The human advantage. The council chamber was still restless. Whispers and laughter echoed across the walls. Some aliens shook their heads in disbelief. Others scribbled down notes, as if humans were rare specimens in a lab. The human stood tall, tired of being mocked, but unwilling to retreat. Arthur Hayes lifted his hand, his voice strong and steady. "You think our way is weakness," he said, "but you do not see the truth." The council fell into silence again, drawn to the weight in his words. Even the reptilian general, still smirking, leaned forward to listen. Arthur continued, "Every species here has a method of survival. Yes, but most of you focus only on numbers, efficiency, or control." He looked at the insectoid queen, who laid millions of eggs. He glanced at the robots, who built offspring in perfect rows. Then his eyes swept over the aquatic beings, who filled the waters with seeds. "But humans," he said, "we do not only survive, we invest, we care, we fight for every child as if they're the last one." Dr. Rivera stepped forward, her voice calm but cutting through the hall. "Do you not see the difference?" she asked. "When our children are born, they are helpless, fragile. They need protection for years, yet we do not abandon them. We raise them, we teach them, we give them love as much as food." The insectoid queen clicked her mandibles in confusion. "Insects cannot waste such energy," she hissed. Our young must survive on their own or die. Dr. Rivera smiled. And yet, our young survive because we do not abandon them. Her words struck the chamber with quiet power. The reptilian general slammed his claw on the table, but not in anger. His golden eyes narrowed, his tail swaying slowly. You mean every human child is guarded as if they were royal spawn, he said. Arthur nodded. Yes, every single one. The robots buzzed with processing noise. Inefficient, one declared, but its voice trembled with doubt. Another machine added, yet this inefficiency creates loyalty. Data shows humans fight harder for family than logic permits. Its glowing eyes flickered, as if new code was being written in its mind. The crystalline alien pulsed with soft light. You build not only children, but bonds, it said, its bell-like voice echoing. Your families are your armies. Your love is your shield. Your care is your strategy. It tilted its glowing head. This is unusual and dangerous. The aquatic delegates gurgled nervously. You mean you do not scatter young into the oceans, you gather them, you protect them, always? Arthur answered firmly, always. One aquatic being muttered, no wonder humans are feared. No wonder they spread like storms. The council chamber shifted. The mockery and laughter faded, replaced by a heavy unease. For the first time, the aliens began to see the hidden strength in human ways. Their strange rituals, their risky closeness, their endless care, it all forged something greater than survival. It forged unity. Dr. Rivera raised her chin, her voice proud. When two humans come together, it is not only to create life, it is to build a future, to raise children who will fight, who will dream, who will carry the legacy of those before them. She paused, letting the words sink in. That is our advantage. Not numbers, not efficiency, but loyalty, love, and the unbreakable bond of family. The chamber was quiet, too quiet. Even the reptilian general had no laughter left. The insectoid queen's antenna twitched nervously. The robots hummed as though they had discovered a glitch in the universe. And the crystalline alien dimmed its glow, deep in thought. Arthur Hayes spoke again, softer now, but his words cut deep. You call us strange, you call us reckless, and perhaps you are right, he said. But know this, when humans fight, they do not fight for themselves. They fight for those they love, for those they raise, for those who come after. He looked around the chamber, his gaze unshaken. That is why we are dangerous. That is why we cannot be broken. A silence settled over the room, thick and heavy. Every alien was thinking, recalculating, imagining what it meant to face such a species. A people who risk death for affection, who risk pain for family, who risk everything for bonds invisible to other worlds. The Xeric ambassador finally rose, his silver skin glowing under the chamber lights. He spoke slowly, carefully. So, humans carry weakness as strength. They build families instead of armies. Yet somehow, their families become armies. His glowing eyes narrowed. This makes them unpredictable, perhaps unstoppable. Arthur Hayes said nothing more. Dr. Rivera stood silently beside him, her calm face hiding a storm of thoughts. The humans had revealed their truth, and now the galaxy would never see them the same way again. But before the silence could harden into respect, a familiar squeaky voice shouted from the back. So, does this mean humans sometimes make more than one family? Arthur groaned loudly. The reptilian general slammed his tail, laughing so hard the chamber shook. And once again, the storm of chaos returned. The final twist. The council chamber was in chaos once again. Aliens argued, hissed, gurgled, and buzzed, each trying to process the strange truth of humanity. Some still mocked, some still doubted, but most now carried a new respect mixed with unease. The humans stood in the center, exhausted and red-faced, but strangely victorious. Arthur Hayes rubbed his temples, wishing for silence. Dr. Rivera kept her calm, her arms folded, her eyes sharp. Daniel, the youngest diplomat, muttered under his breath, "Next time let's talk about trade only." But no one heard him over the storm of voices. Then, slowly, the Xeric ambassador rose again. His silver skin shimmered in the chamber light, and his glowing eyes scanned the room. At once, the voices fell silent. Every alien turned to listen, for the Xeric were known for their wisdom, and when they spoke, others obeyed. The ambassador raised his long hand and pointed toward the humans. "You have explained your strange method," he said. "You have shown us your weakness and your strength." His voice echoed, calm yet commanding. "Now, one question remains." The humans tensed. Arthur prayed it would be something simple. Dr. Rivera prepared herself for another storm. The council leaned forward, curious, hungry for one last piece of human mystery. The Xeric ambassador tilted his head slowly. "Tell us," he asked, his tone serious and thoughtful. "Can other species try it?" The chamber exploded. Laughter and shock rippled across the room like a wave. Some aliens gasped in horror, others roared with amusement, and a few looked far too interested. Arthur nearly fell over. "Dar," Rivera closed her eyes and whispered, "I knew this was coming." The reptilian general slapped his tail against the floor, howling with laughter. "Ah, I knew it. I knew one of them would ask," he hissed. "You humans create life through madness, and now others want to taste it." His soldiers hissed in amusement, chanting, "Test the humans, test the humans." The insectoid queen hissed angrily. "Absurd," she clacked. "Mixing species is chaos. The galaxy will collapse into hybrids." But even she could not hide the twitch of curiosity in her antenna. The aquatic beings bubbled nervously. "We are water. You are flesh," one said, "yet perhaps experiments could be done." Another splashed excitedly. "Imagine human-aquatic hybrids." Arthur choked. "Please don't imagine that." The robots buzzed coldly. "Data request," one said. "If emotional bonding increases compatibility, perhaps robots should attempt simulation of human intimacy." The words made Arthur bury his face in his hands. "Dar," Rivera muttered, "this galaxy is doomed." The crystalline alien glowed brightly, its voice ringing like bells. To join not only energy but flesh, to risk, to bond, to create such a method is madness, but beautiful. It leaned forward, shimmering with curiosity. Perhaps humans are not only survivors. Perhaps they are teachers. Arthur waved his hands desperately. "No, no, absolutely not," he said loudly. "This is not something to copy. It is not a game. It is our way, not yours." But the council was no longer listening. The idea had spread like wildfire, too ridiculous, too tempting, too funny to ignore. Then, to make it worse, the small four-eyed alien squeaked again. Its voice was high-pitched but clear enough for all to hear. "If humans reproduce through love," it said, "then can I volunteer to test it first?" The chamber erupted into chaos like never before. Reptilians roaret, insectoids clicket, aquatics bubbled, robots buzzed, crustals hung. Some laughed until they shook, some screamed in protest, and others shouted for volunteers. The humans stood frozen, horrified and speechless. Arthur groaned. Daniel covered his face. "Dar," Rivera simply whispered, "I give up." The Xeric ambassador lowered his hand slowly, watching the chaos he had unleashed. For the first time, a faint smile crossed his silver face. "Perhaps," he said softly, though few heard him over the noise. "This is why humans cannot be ignored." As the council dissolved into madness, the humans left the chamber, their dignity in pieces, their faces burning. But deep inside, they knew something had changed. The galaxy now feared them, mocked them, and strangely admired them. Humanity had revealed its strangest truth, and somehow, that truth had become its greatest weapon. The doors closed behind them, shutting out the chaos. Arthur sighed. Daniel whispered, "We survived." Dar Rivera smirked faintly, barely, and somewhere in the galaxy, new rumors began to spread. The humans reproduce. How? the funniest and most dangerous secret in the stars.